Hey there, this is Jeff Hansen. I'm coming to you today from Northern California.
And this is Arvin Paredes, and I am in Los Angeles, California right now.
Yes, you are right now. Together, we have a combined 40 plus years of real estate experience as full-time brokers in California. We've seen a lot, we've done a lot, and we're here to share. Today's topic, Arvin, is why it's better to work with buyers. Why it's better to work with buyers. Now, the caveat I'll put in is that I spent the beginning of my career trying to really focus on working with sellers because I was told listings are the name of the game, which is really true. We'll do another video on why it's better to work with sellers. They're both good, but I missed out on a lot of buyer opportunities early in my career because I just like didn't follow up a lot with buyers. So there are a number of reasons why working with buyers is not just really positive, but actually superior in certain ways to working with sellers. So I'll start off on the first thing that's on my mind, and that is that buyers are more proactive. Like when
Ooh,
you have a
okay.
buyer you're working with, like you go look at homes today, you don't find a home that they like. Well, tomorrow you can go over there, right? Or over here, or you can look in a different price range. When you have a listing, you're stuck where you are, right? You're attracting people to it. If it's not selling, it's kind of a waiting game. It can be a little bit stressful. It's reactive because you're doing passive marketing to draw people there. You can do some proactive things, but it's much more limited. With the buyer, it's you can change your strategy, right? Let's try something different. Let's consider townhomes. We didn't consider townhomes, right? Maybe there is a 2 bedroom that has a loft instead of a 3 bedroom. You know what I mean?
Yep, totally. And it just seems like buyers are honestly, they're around more. Like it's easier to find a buyer than it is to find a seller who's motivated to sell their place.
Well, another that's yeah. Hold up. Another number two. They're easier to find to a certain degree and convert, I would say. Buyers, you meet a buyer and you say, hey, you want to go look at homes? They're like, sure. You don't just meet a seller and say, hey, you want to hire me? They're all sure that you listing it because they're paying you a commission. Buyers don't pay you a commission.
Right.
I'll help you for free find the house of your dreams. They're like, okay, let's go. Let's get started. You also don't need much of a plan. Listings, you need a really solid plan. You got to price it right. If you get it wrong, it can be really troublesome with the buyer. Hey, if you get it wrong in the beginning, then you try a new strategy, like we're looking in the wrong price range, right? We can change as we go along, and you don't need this full. I mean, the plan is let's just go look at homes. That can be your whole plan, right? You want to get people qualified and other things, but less that goes into it. And what you mentioned, it's easier to find partially because when people are buying, they tell all their friends because you're excited. Like when you buy a car, you tell all your friends, I'm buying a car. No way, what are you buying? When you sell a car, you don't tell all your friends, I'm selling a car. Oh my gosh, because you aren't excited, which is a whole other topic that buyers are, it's exciting. It's fun to buy a home. It's not fun to sell a home. It's like business, right? I got to sell the home. Buyers are on this emotional high.
When you're working with sellers, you're in control of a lot of things in the beginning of how to advise them to make their place look better, how to make it show ready, for showings and just, all that's open houses and things like that. But then, like you said, going back to your first point, now you're kind of reacting to how buyers are, deciding to whether make an offer or not on the listing. So now you're in
Mm-hmm.
reactive mode and there's less control over that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes
So, yeah.
with sellers, you can have more control of your time, maybe because you can set when offers are due or things like this. But it is more passive for sure, right?
When you're putting the home on the market and you're trying to get an offer and get them to submit an offer, even if it's someone's interested, you can't tell that buyer to make an offer, right? I mean, maybe you can at the open house or something, but it gets to a certain point where the buyer is going to decide whether they want to or not. And they're talking to their buyer's agent, their agent, right? And you're talking now to their agent and you're trying to figure out if something's going to happen.
Totally,
So,
totally.
yeah. And the other thing too is it's also, as a realtor, I think it is also a little intimidating to talk to homeowners and try to talk them into or to tell them that they should trust you and giving them the key to giving them the key to their place so that you can get it ready to sell. That's the whole, that's a lot to unpack there because as an agent, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of responsibility. It's not, you're not just opening doors for buyers, right? This is taking this whole thing on. They're one of their biggest assets, right? Probably the biggest asset. And for a lot of agents, it's a little intimidating.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're invading their space, their cave, their private sanctuary, so to speak, right? It's a little
Mm-hmm.
nerve-wracking. How many random people have been in your house in the last week? Very few, right?
Mm-hmm. Very
So there
few.
are more issues with that, a lot of things to get right, more things that can go. I feel like there are more things that can kind of go wrong with the listing. Now, keep in mind, we're going to do a video on why it's better to work with sellers. It's a great reason to work with sellers, but buyers are fabulous in their own way. You also
Yeah.
have less cost usually with the buyer. With the seller, you're going to do advertising, right? You're going to do photos, a drone footage. You might have staging that you're participating in the cost of. You might pay for a few things. You might be little things. Some just pay for too much, I think, but you're for sure going to pay for more. With the buyer, there's very little cost up front, just your gas and time driving around, right?
Yep. Totally. Yeah, no, I'm jumping back and forth between points here, but going back to the feeling of the buyer's emotions of being positive and excited and telling all their friends, when a seller gets a good price for their home and presenting those offers, and you don't see anywhere that level of emotion or that feeling of yes, we did it, that
Right.
like a buyer gets when their offer gets accepted because they're competing against three or four other people, or they finally closed through all of these financial difficulties and challenges throughout the transaction, and at some point maybe it looked like it wasn't even going to come together, and it did, and now you're having drinks with them at after closing. Now they want to meet up for dinner with you and give you a gift, and it's a whole thing, you know
Yeah, keep in
sellers, they
mind,
get the
you just heard
money.
you heard it there. When you buy a house with Arvin, he's buying you drinks.
I sure am. And sellers, they get the money. They're asking, kind of, they're just asking when's the money going to hit the account. That's kind of like the main question at the end of it. And it's the main point of it all for them,
Well,
right?
also
And
keep in mind, people sell for various reasons. No, people buy, it's always positive. Usually they're buying because they want to buy a house. People sell because someone passed away, sometimes
mhm.
because there's a divorce. Even the best case where they love their home, but they're moving up, their energy is very different in saying, "Hey, Jeff, thanks for getting rid of our dream home," right?
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you have more emotional conflict, whether it's negative or even if it's a house you love, you kind of miss it. So the emotions are different than something that's new and exciting, right? It's the beginning. One's the end of something, one's the beginning of something. And then related to that, I think part of that is that you get more referrals from a buyer because they are excited. But the other big thing is that a lot of sellers leave the area. Some stay local, many leave the area completely. So it's great to stay in touch, but the likelihood that they're certainly not going to be a repeat if they move out of the area, but they might refer someone, but much less likely. When you help someone buy, that's a future listing because they're going to, when you stay in the business for a long time, they're going to, if you stay in touch and are effective and did a great job, then they're going to use you in the future and refer people. They're staying local by definition. Sellers oftentimes are leaving the area. So it's more transactional, right?
The sellers are not bragging to their friends that they sold their house through you for the most part. They are bragging that you helped them close on their first home or on their dream home and help them get through it in these, the crazy markets that we've been through in the last decade.
Yeah, they might have a housewarming party, right? That you could come to or even throw for them. Sellers are just on their way and they've left, right?
Yeah, they're gone.
Buyers want to get people, oh, hey, you got to talk to Arvin. Hey, Arvin, come here. This is my good friend. Arvin helped me buy this house. Can you believe it? Oh, no way, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's more reasons to stay in touch with the buyer too. The seller, if they sell and move, what are you going to follow up with? Hey, what's happening, right? The buyer, you're like, how are things going? You need a reference for a contractor, right? How's the yard looking? Did you remodel that one bathroom? Like, you can stay in touch over time, and they connect you with the home that you help them purchase. I mean, I didn't think of this before the video, but my mom, just the other day, we were driving by this old real estate office that doesn't exist anymore in San Jose, and she said, "Oh, that's where this—I won't say the name, but this agent worked who was in my dad's Lions Club that helped buy the house back in 1988." And she said, "You know what? I'm still thankful for him." Now she's moved out of that house and downsized since my dad passed away, but she still remembers. Yeah, it's so great he helped us find that home. She's still grateful for him for finding a home.
Mm-hmm.
She does now. That same agent helped them sell their house that they moved out of, where I grew up. She's not thankful for that. She's thankful for finding the dream home where they had all these great memories.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
You're like making the dreams come true.
That's why we get in real estate, right? To make dreams come true. No, we're just helping people with a major life decision. But yeah.
Yep, yep. Like, another thing that just kind of related to this that came to mind for me was in the downturn in 2008 through 2012, we had a lot of foreclosures and short sales. And I remember agents in my office at the time were saying, "Oh, there's just so many distressed sales, right? So many distressed properties." So I looked up to see what percent were distressed. And there was a period where almost maybe 30-40% of all listings were short sales or foreclosures. But then I realized every sale has two sides. So every foreclosure or short sale that sold, the buyer that bought it was another opportunity for us to earn a commission and help someone, right? And 100% of the buyers were not distressed. There's never a distressed buyer. There are zero distressed buyers, only distressed selling situations. Buyers, if you're distressed, you can't afford or you're not buying a home. They're all positive. Even when you're buying a distressed property, the buyer's not distressed. So buyers are the best. They're wonderful. Sellers are good too. We'll talk about that, but buyers are the best. Final thoughts you have?
Yeah, a lot of this also, I mean, you got to see where the market is too, right? Because there are times where it's good to work with one over the other. So,
It's healthy to do both, but yeah, certainly if you're totally buyer focused or totally seller focused, it's going to be hard when it shifts. Actually,
yeah.
I thought you were going to go a different direction with that. One more thing that made me think of when you mentioned that is that when you work with buyers and you're showing property, you really know the market because you're looking at homes. You see how quickly they're selling. You see what they're selling for. You see what the pace is. Are things
Yep.
selling over or under, right? And if you're out there showing properties regularly to buyers, you really have your finger directly on the market in a way that's very different than a listing where you have it on the market and you're like calling other listings. Hey, are you getting any showings? What's happening? When you're working with
Mm-hmm.
buyers, you know exactly what's happening. Finger on the pulse.
Cool.
Bring on the buyers, Arvin.
Can't wait to talk about the other side to this, working with why it's good to work with sellers.
Why it's better, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have a successful journey, everybody that's watching this. Best to you and your success. Peace out.